Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Pedalshift Project. The Pedalshift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments around the bike touring lifestyle. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride, let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshift.net/283, and you can email the show at pedalshift@pedalshift.net or text me at 202-930-1109 and check Pedalshift out on all the socials as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 283rd edition of the Pedalshift Project. My name's Tim Mooney. Thanks so much for joining. On this edition, we are going to travel more in Los Angeles County in part 4 of the Missing Link Tour. This part covers some zero-day observations and then riding a newly repaired Brompton from downtown Los Angeles-ish to Venice and then to Redondo Beach before circling back to my airport hotel. A bit of a tour reset, but great adventures in bicycling in Los Angeles County. A quick reminder, if you haven't checked it out already, go check out friend of the show and Pedalshift Society member Greg Braithwaite's videos of his California tour over at his Bike Vids channel on YouTube. Got a link in the show notes for all of that. It has been a crazy couple of weeks for me. Work related. I got exposed to COVID. Don't have it at the moment, but in quarantine. Hey, a lot of things going on. So I'm hoping to play catch up with the show in the very relatively near future. So thanks so much for your patience. Maybe it is seamless to all of you, but it is not to me. Quick programming note that's kind of related to all of that. Next week, we wrap up the journal for this trip, and then we do a best of the tracks all the way back to 2017. Then, following that best of, we're going to wrap things up here for the Missing Link by doing an episode full of the many takeaways that I have from this particular tour. I did learn a lot, and I hope to share that with you all. Then after that, we're going to be fully in June then. We're fully in late spring here in the Northeast. We're going to take a break from the tour journals. It's been a lot of tour journals content for you all. We're going to take a bit of a break from that and do a bunch of topical episodes here. I've got a few in the queue, but I'm curious, is there something that I've never covered on the show that you'd like me to cover, or something that you'd like me to revisit on a topic that I covered a long time ago? Would be very curious. If you've got any ideas, make sure you send them to me at pedalshift@pedalshift.net, and it might be a future show. But before we do all of those, let's revisit the Missing Link. Off we go. Brief interlude. I am in the midst of my 0 days here in Anaheim, having a great time, very much enjoying myself. But I had some interesting things that I thought I would share about transit here in Orange County. One thing that I did to save a few bucks is I didn't get a hotel like really close to Disneyland. I got it within marginal walking distance. It's a little over a mile away. And I did that. But when you're walking around a park like that, that's a lot of extra walking, especially when I've been doing all this cycling. It's fine. It's cross training. Makes sense. But I discovered that this particular, actually, I'm not even sure if it's it's Orange County. It's Anaheim's mass transit is really fantastic. There is a stop literally outside the hotel that takes me to the park. And that's why I originally got it, to avoid doing the multiple extra miles of walking in a day. But then I discovered that it does a lot of other things as well from here. And most importantly, that's going to help me get back to LA in a little bit more reasonable way. I ended up doing an Uber from LA to here, and it was like $50, and I thought that was a reasonable amount of money considering, it was going to cost me, I think it was $15 back to the train station, $20 for the train, and then probably at least another $15 to get to the hotel. So I was like, you know what, it's about the same, let me just take the Uber. But then I discovered a few things. Number one, you don't have to take the Surfliner. There's actually a regional commuter rail called Metrolink, which I think I knew about before, but I'd forgotten about. And I'm just always like, oh, Amtrak, because you see it a lot around here. So from here to Union Station is less than half taking that. So great, there's another way to kind of cut some costs. But the other thing is, because I got a multi-day pass, rather than spend $4 per ride, and I've been using the bus quite a bit for back and forths and whatnot, you can do
it's like rideshare, but with a giant bus. When the bus line doesn't serve it, when it's out of commission time wise, they actually will do effectively rideshare by bus. You use the app, you hail it, it tells you what time and where you're going to get picked up, and it worked really great. It also is going to be possible for me to use that tomorrow, apparently, rather than having to spend probably, if memory serves, it's at least $10, if not more, to do a rideshare. I'm going to be able to use it as part of my 3-day pass that I bought. So that ride alone will pay for itself, because I believe the 3-day pass was $16. It's really helpful. And I throw this all out to you to just as a reminder, don't sleep on mass transit. If you're in a place that has it, or even if you're not sure, check. Because when you're in a situation like I find myself in so frequently, where I need to get some fast forwards in for either choice or it's foisted upon me, like this trip, well, then it's a really helpful tool for you to use, and it's going to save me some real bucks. So tomorrow it's free, essentially, or like sunk cost for something I was already doing to get me to the rail station. $8.25, if memory serves, gets me all the way to LA. And then it's a question of, well, I'll check and see what the rideshare cost would be versus, what are the bus options in LA. My recollection is that the bus situation was a bit of a hike on either end of things. So even if it's, a few dollars more, that instance, the rideshare might actually end up being better. And that gets me back to the bike shop. And then I have wheels again. And I'm really, really excited about what I'm going to be doing. I haven't quite fully fleshed it out. Obviously, I'm having to call an audible for the final day. I could ride directly to the hotel, but that wouldn't be that much fun compared to what I've got potentially planned here. I think I'm still going to want to go do some of those beach towns that I was planning on doing, except I think I'm going to be able to do it in a different, more fun way. So that's going to be what's going to be coming up as the final day of riding. And it's not even really the final day of riding, it's the final full day of riding. I'll end up at a hotel near LAX airport. And then on my final day, my travel day, I'll actually be able to ride from there to the airport directly, fold up, and then get going. That, of course, is going to be a way of sort of rescuing some aspect of this trip compared to what I wanted. One other thing I've thought a lot about, okay, this missing link tour didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, obviously. What are my options? Can I do it again? And of course, since now I have the capability to go southbound, there's certainly the possibility of sometime within the next, year or so of doing this in reverse and going from LA through to Anaheim and then down to wrap things up and fly out of San Diego. Or do some other kind of a thing where I basically get down to where my bike broke down. Trust me, I remember where it was. And then I can kind of flip back around and figure out a different airport to come out of. There's tons of different options here in Southern California. And it's just a question of, okay, what makes the most sense? All right. Well, that bit of an interlude being finished, I have got some more things to do here on my 0 mile day. And we will check in tomorrow for me. I don't know what point of the episode it is for you, but to be continued. Good morning from the Anaheim Regional Transit something. It's Arctic. I don't know what it stands for specifically, as you can tell. I am staring at the Angels ballpark. Now I just turned around and I'm looking at the Ducks facility. It's a really well put together transit node for folks to come to these sports ball events or sports puck events, which is really good. I am going to give more props to the Anaheim bus system. I did that in the last segment where basically it saved me anywhere between $10 and $15 as a part of the 3-day pass that I bought. No problem, was able to basically get put in the time. You hail it through an app. and they show up, and it's very, very convenient. It's not unlike an Uber or a Lyft. It was a smaller bus this time, but they brought me right there. It's fantastic. I am now waiting, looks like another 10 minutes or so for the Metrolink. This is the regional commuter rail, which is about half the price of Amtrak.
M687 service to LA Union Station is scheduled to arrive on track 1 in 10 minutes.
Well, there you go. So yeah, that's going to be really good. $8.25 to get yourself from Anaheim to there. So if you combine that, man, it's just a really good setup here in Southern California. It gets a bad rap for its public transit, I think, but it's actually quite good. So my next move is get to LA, and then I'm going to, actually on the train down, I'm going to figure out if there's a decent bus option, just to see if there is. If there is, I'll take it and go up to the bike shop that way. If the cost differential is only a few bucks, I think I may end up doing an Uber or a Lyft just to get up there. I should be arriving into Union Station in LA shortly after the shop opens. So, I'll be able to grab it first thing. And then I got the whole day ahead of me. And as I mentioned, I've got kind of a vague idea of how I want to go. But I think I'm just going to use Google Maps and maybe plug in Marina Del Rey, perhaps, and then go down south from there through a bunch of the beach towns. Maybe get down to at least Manhattan Beach or something like that. I have to rejigger in my brain where everything is. I can't remember where all these towns are. I know that the last winner of the Fish Taco Challenge was in Venice, so there's a possibility right there. Go get fish tacos for lunch, but I'm sure I could get them anywhere in any of those beach towns. And then I'll need to loop back and go through Inglewood and El Segundo to get back to the hotel. Don't know how this day's going to go. Am I going to take some longer chill breaks? Yeah, maybe. I think it's just going to depend on what's available and what the weather's like. Another fairly cloudless day, so sun exposure is pretty high. By the way, I got an email, and forgive me, I don't have the name in front of me, but maybe it was a Facebook message about the distinctions between the different types of sunscreens, and that maybe I should consider a zinc oxide one like the surfers use. Always a possibility. I may have to think about that. One thing about that is I don't know if they make them not with that kind of like white pasty look. I mean, I suppose I could do that if I really needed to, but I'm starting to think more about using the sun sleeves and getting the full head covering for some of these situations, because I've noticed just how great they are. No chemicals on the skin or anything like that. I think I'm going to start thinking more about that. I think I am going to look more into like wider brim hats and some other possibilities as well. I'm not trying to look cool out here, so I may as well not look cool out here. Anyways, this is it for Anaheim. Had a great stay here, and I'm really looking forward to getting the bike back and looking forward to hearing if they've got any kind of answers as to what happened. If the tire wear was the issue, like I think, I'd love to hear more about that, and of course I'll share that with you. All right, more to come. And we are rolling again from the fashion district of, we'll call it downtown LA. I think downtown's technically a different area, but I am on a portion of the route here with the ultimate goal to get to Venice Beach, and it's going to be an hour or so, maybe a little bit more, probably closer to an hour and 20. This route so far is what Google Maps is giving me. I have no infrastructure here, but it's kind of classic downtown riding, where it's 2 lanes. I can just take the right lane. That seems to be just fine. And I'm gonna keep my head up on a swivel, usual deal with city riding, especially a portion of the city that I'm just not as familiar with.
I'm actually going right by Crypto.com Arena. If memory serves, that is where the Lakers play. So I'm just getting all the Southern California sports teams facilities today, which is kind of funny. If you haven't been watching, if you're into basketball or if you're into basketball history, I started paying attention to the NBA a little bit after the Magic and Larry Bird era. There's a great series on HBO Max called Winning Time, which is all about the rise of the Lakers. I was never a Lakers fan. I mean, of the two teams, that was the team that I would have been as into, but in any event, it's really good. So going by the arena and the convention center here, that's kind of cool. All right. It appears that all is good. The bike is riding incredibly well. Brand new tire, Schwalbe Marathon Plus on the back. Oh, it's probably worth saying, we do have a culprit. And it was roughly what you would expect. There was a massive amount of wear on this tire. And boy, that's ultimately, we'll talk about this in takeaways down the road, but holy moly, I can't believe I didn't notice this before. And part of it is because I'm just not paying attention. And so I need to do what I always preach, which is do that once over the bike before you leave any place. You know, I could have very easily caught that, realized what the situation was, and ordered a tire online and all of that, and wouldn't have been as much of a hassle. But I'm, you know, in some ways I'm kind of glad that it worked out this way. And bear with me on this. First of all, it must be very interesting to listen to this on the podcast. But second of all, I'm really glad that I got a chance to end up at Just Ride LA. So to complete what was the culprit? The culprit was very worn down tire. And I think that these are bulletproof tires until they start to wear down. They get thinner and then they're more subject to punctures. And I couldn't find it, but dude at the shop, again, Just Ride LA, gonna give them some props for a while now. He was like, oh, here's the thorn. And there it was. You know, I mean, it was just sort of like, duh, you know, and it's funny how, you know, you're in the field and you think you're going over it, and I wasn't looking at it from the right angle. I should have been looking at it from the outside, not the inside. Yeah, and that just, it was as simple as that. So, you know, make sure that your tire's integrity is good, because whenever on the, 3 times I've had problems with Schwalbe tires, it's always because there's been some integrity issues with the tire. And that's basically it. So, brand new Schwalbe Marathon Plus on the back, and it just rides like butter, which is fantastic. I did not replace the front tire because it isn't nearly in the same space, but I will get to that point eventually. And when I do, I'll swap the heretofore the brand new tire I have right now, which will have some wear on it by the time the front tire wears. And it'll move to the front, and then I'll have a new tire on the back. You know, the usual deal is you want to have better tread, the newer tire on the rear of the bike, because that's the one that's bearing most of the weight for the most part, especially in Brompton touring. I'm never carrying enough weight up at the front to kind of offset that. Catching some wind because I am basically going straight towards the ocean, so I'm guessing I'm getting these onshore, offshore, whatever they are, the breeze that comes from the ocean. And yeah, so that's what I'm up to, and so far easy riding. I will have to say, I feel like I'm going through a traditionally Latino area of town at this point. I am not familiar with LA nearly enough to be able to say, oh, I know exactly where I am at. Maybe going through, whoa, I just caught an interesting rut on my brand new tire. Oh, looks good. All right, more to come. All right, a little bit of an update here. I just checked the route a little bit more carefully. And I can't believe I didn't figure this out earlier, but I am on Venice Boulevard right now. Venice Boulevard goes all the way to Venice Beach. Seems like the right name for it. Nearly ended up hitting a pedestrian who was coming out from around their glass truck, not expecting a bike. So I shall be even more extra careful here on this road, marked as a bike route, Venice Boulevard, marked as a bike route, but no separate infrastructure, just signs, not even paint, not even churros. So is this the LA bike riding that I was told about 8 years ago that I should be a little more careful about? Yeah, maybe. I remember 8 years ago when I did the LA to Anaheim ride, it's mostly on trails and all was good. So we'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. Big, wide roads and not a lot of sightline problems. Unless, of course, you're walking around the corner of your truck with glass on it. More to come. Little update here. I feel like I'm talking every few blocks, but traffic lights and stuff. There is a brand new, I'm crossing over Arlington Avenue. I got about 10 miles to go, give or take, and brand new separated bike lane. So that makes me feel a little bit better. It'd be nice if this goes for the next 10 miles down Venice Boulevard. If it does, great. If it doesn't, I'm grateful to have what I've got. But I think that this is gonna make a big difference. I would say, let's see, this is a 1, 2, 3, this is a 4-lane road. So a not insignificant road. I wonder if before the advent of I-10, I think it's I-10, goes all the way out to Santa Monica Freeway, basically, for you locals. If this was the main route to the beaches, just judging by the width of it, probably was. But for all of the traffic light stops that you have, I wonder if it would be faster on some days, because that's a freeway that backs up. My brother lived briefly in West LA, and so I only got to visit him a couple times when he was here. But I learned a little bit more about the greater LA area, particularly out that direction. But yeah, this is more like it in terms of the urban LA riding that I was kind of looking forward to. You know, being able to just hop on the bike for an hour, go from downtown LA to the beach towns. That's exactly what I was kind of after for this, the final day on the tour. It sort of ends up being a bit of a replacement for the ride that was supposed to happen today, which I might as well tell you a little more about. Originally it was going to be Anaheim down to probably Long Beach, and then from Long Beach up the coast until at some point, maybe around El Segundo, and then coming up Inglewood, or to Inglewood. As I mentioned before, the hotel that I'm staying at, and LAX generally, is sort of at the crossover between Inglewood and El Segundo. Probably something else as well. Road conditions are trash. The road is really chewed up in here. And the trick is, it's chewed up in ways that creates almost like train track style issues. That's what I had back a couple segments ago, where it was just like it was a rut that ran vertical parallel to my tire the way that I hit it. So not good at all. That's some of the other things you deal with in the urban riding scenario, but so far so good. We're crossing Crenshaw, so this is that's a very major thoroughfare that I'm somewhat familiar with. I don't know if this would be characterized as South Central LA at this point. Probably, potentially. but it's very nice. Now that I cross Crenshaw, and some of the roads, they're gated for vehicular traffic, so you can't turn into them off of Venice. Oh, update though on the bike infrastructure. After complaining, apparently the Los Angeles Tourism Board bicycling gods got involved, and now this is not only a zone. Sorry about that. Not only is it its own lane now, there is 15 feet of protection between me and the road, and some bollards in there as well. Not that that would do much, but there's a clear separation now between me and the motorized traffic, which is pretty great. Now we're talking. Yeah, I think, and that kind of makes sense that maybe in the downtown area it wouldn't be quite as good. It is interesting that the sidewalks kind of come and go, and I just passed somebody coming at me in this direction for walking the bike lane because there was no pedestrian infrastructure for him. So there's that. Lots of interesting things when you are in a city that is very much designed around the motor vehicle and the design choices that are made and all of that. I am crossing now. I'm going to take the brakes here because this is a major boulevard. This is San Vicente. And I'm seeing larger buildings up ahead. So I'm going to figure out what that is. I'm sure it's going to be one of the other major towns. So, more to come. All right, finally at a stoplight where I can stop. The headwinds are so hard that I think you'd have a hard time hearing. So here we are. We're at Motor Avenue and Venice Boulevard. Only a few more miles to go. It is very fast riding. Road conditions are fine. Bike's tremendous now that it has a tire that works. And yeah, it's all good. I'm starting to think, all right, I'm in the mood for some tacos at some point. But I think I might wait till I get to Venice, potentially, just because I'm not super hungry. And at least there I can maybe find a place that has some outdoor capabilities. Because what I would like to do is to be able to order and eat outside, or at least some way to make sure that my bike and my belongings are safe. If I recall correctly, I didn't worry much about it 8 years ago when I was biking around here, but I better safe than sorry, right? All right. I know you can't hear very well with this dead wind. It's fine. It's just I'm going right into the ocean breezes, which is what I'm after. All right, more to come. From Venice, California, at the junction of Ocean Boulevard, Venice Boulevard, and something else, Venice Way. We are just about to the ocean right now. And let's see, you got the Venice Farmers Market there with, of course, it's not going on right now. I'm just going to keep going until we hit water and then kind of figure it out from there. I wouldn't mind grabbing some lunch. So, with that headwind blowing, you know I'm moving. More to come.
All right, Fish Taco Challenge has been done again. I am at Cabo Cantina. I believe I'm like within a few blocks of the place that I went to before, but I'm going to give this a 44 stars. Highest ranking. And since there's music playing in the background, I don't want to get this podcast removed from iTunes, or iTunes, God, how old am I? From Apple Podcasts, so we're going to have to cut that short. I may go as far south as Redondo. I may not go quite as far, but if I did Redondo and then to the hotel, it's 25 miles, so we will see. From Marina del Rey, California, and we are progressing at a bit of a leisurely pace over the course of the next few hours here. No rush, gonna stop, enjoy the sights. I find it hysterical. I'm sitting here
at a bench. There's a place to lean my bike up next to it, which is always lovely and helpful. But the hysterical thing is that the benches are faced looking away from the marina and the water and towards basically like a sound retention wall or something. I don't understand why this is it. I guess maybe it's just for people watching or something like that, which I suppose is a fine thing to do, but I'd rather look at the water, quite frankly. I've had enough of people. The fish tacos were amazing. Dude who served me was actually from the DC area originally, just moved out here 3 months ago, so we had a nice little talk. Very cool guy. Yeah, it's just one of those cool Southern California days. Nice, little breezy, a little bit of coolness in the air. Sun's still out, of course, but yeah, feeling really good and strong. I even had a beer, and you know that I very rarely have a beer mid-ride. It's just that one of those days, it's like I could do as few as 8 miles if I wanted to, or as many as, 25, which I think I'm kind of leaning towards just doing. Because one idea is just to basically go down to Redondo and get like a second lunch or an early dinner or something, and then do the ride back. It's basically would be like an hour down there and then an hour back. So we'll just kind of suss it all out, figure it all out, go from there. Like I said, I am in no rush today. This was going to be originally a 50-mile day, so to only do 35 or whatever is probably, just fine. And the beauty of it is that I would end up getting to see basically even more of the beach towns than I expected. Well, maybe no, that's not true. I think the original plan would have gone down to Long Beach and then gone north from there, and then I would have caught all of them. But I don't think I would have gone this far north, so I wouldn't have seen Marina del Rey, I wouldn't have seen Venice. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Sounds like something some old dude would say, like me. All right. More to come. Take another break here at the end of the, I don't know what to call this. Well, this is the inlet to Marina del Rey, where I'm at right now. I do not remember this at all. It is stunning. Now, it might be that this bike path may be new, since I did it 8 years ago, which is entirely possible. But just beautiful, beautiful. You can see all the incredibly wealthy homes around here, the sailboats, but, a bunch of folks on bike share going by here. A dude out on a kayak. It's a little of everything. You might be able to hear. That looks like a JAL, a Japanese airline, or Japan Airlines, flight coming out of LAX. That's how close I am right now. So I'm going to be on this pathway. It looks like it's more of it's a multi-use path. Folks out fishing.
25 to 35%.
Yeah, just a really stellar day. And we'll be back on the beach now, proper again. This is the one section, and I know it's not called the Strand everywhere, but I kind of refer to it as the Strand. I think it's further south that it's called that, but it's a wide multi-use path that effectively runs all the way down all these beach towns. Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, El Segundo, all of these towns. Wide open, sandy, classic California sandy beaches. And you can tell I'm about ready to, we're right into the pathway. I'll try to describe it as best I can through this headwind here. I think when I turn, it'll be a little bit better as I go parallel with the beach. But it's, classic white sand beach, the Southern California style. And a concrete boy, that's got to be 20 feet wide. So I think it's 2 10-foot lanes, some turnouts here and there. Got people on bikes. I'm about to be passed by somebody's blasting some music out. Runners. Oh, it's music my cousin would like. I love it. Yeah, it's such a scene, man. You know, like freaking like the fittest people you've ever seen in your life. You know, beach volleyball. Just a lot of really fantastic people watching opportunities here. But you know, this trail goes for, I think, 20 miles, a full 20 miles. If not, well, maybe it's only about 10 or so. But it goes right past, as I said, El Segundo and the airport. You can see 2 jets now taking off simultaneously from the 2 main runways. It's quite the sight. If you're into watching planes take off, you could do a lot worse than here. And today is a Monday afternoon as I'm riding right here. So the beaches are not terribly crowded at all, which also means that the multi-use path is not very crowded either, which is a real plus because this can be a very busy thoroughfare on weekends. If you read the book that I always refer to about the Pacific Coast Trail, it suggests that this can be a really frustrating bicycling experience. That has not been my experience because I've been, I think, lucky enough to be doing it on weekdays. Now, the further south I get, we'll see if that changes. But yeah, just stunning place. Easy to love riding here. If you don't like sand, this is not the place for you, because you will get sandy. Even the path itself gets some sand on it, which kind of makes some sense. It's like literally going through a beach. All right, more to come. All right, we're to the other side. Let's see, which direction are we going? We're going south. Mile marker 8 on this trail, going by the steam plant for the city of Los Angeles. And you can tell I'm going downhill here. Apologies for the wind as always. Yeah, you can tell the difference when I'm turned into the wind going towards the ocean. It is. It's a real breeze, a real breeze. Pretty quiet out here today, but not, I'm not all alone by any stretch. Yeah, it's just a question of how much further do I want to go. This is El Segundo Beach, and I remember it very well. This time 8 years ago, I was very much into playing Left My Wallet in El Segundo by Tribe Called Quest. I may do so again, just because. But yeah, that tells you how close we are to the airport if the planes weren't a good enough indicator. Yeah, I think I'm just going to keep pushing south a little bit. I maybe hit one of the first towns. I may only go to Manhattan Beach potentially. Just kind of depends on how I'm feeling and what time it is. As I look at my watch, my room's not even going to be available for at least a half hour, so there's no sense going right now. So I think I'm going to push south, see if there's some place that catches my fancy to maybe take a break, and we'll kind of take it from there. Going to Redondo would be probably unnecessary when all is said and done, but I do like Redondo. I think it's probably my favorite of these towns we're about to encounter all in a row here. But I don't, that doesn't mean I need to go there. So we'll just see how I feel. Some beautiful pelicans flying off in the distance. And with that, I will bid you adieu. From the border between Hermosa Beach and Redondo Beach, this is not the end, but it's the turnaround point. And the reason why I chose this point is I don't know what the final kind of mileage would have been if I had gone based on the Google Maps definition. I did cut it short, and that was because I see from my vantage point right here place that I stayed at in 2014. And it was I think it was technically in Redondo. And I decided to get a beer in Hermosa. So this feels like a very fitting end to this push back southward. And you know what? When all is said and done, I think that this has been a really kind of fun trip so far. Even with all the drama and even with all the craziness, it certainly didn't turn out the way that I intended it to. But you know what? When all is said and done, none of my trips do they? Very few of them. Like 50%, let's say. I think I could say that 50% of them end up with some kind of craziness that ends up happening. Minor, major, ruining some other way. But, you know, it's all good. So now the final plan, or the plans for the final push for today's riding is 10 miles, turning back around going north. I'm just taking a look at the flag that is up above me here, and it is the same offshore breeze. Again, I don't know if it's onshore or offshore, but it's the one where the wind blows from the ocean to the shore. So, I do not have a headwind, just like I didn't before. And in fact, when I turn and go inland in a few miles, I'm going to have the wind at my back, which will be pretty fun. So we like that. But I am looking at about an hour's worth of riding, give or take. And then I will be not very far from the airport. That will make my riding tomorrow that much easier. I don't have a crack of dawn flight. I have a very reasonable flight, afternoon-wise, but I am looking forward to having an easy ride tomorrow, to be perfectly honest. All right, more to come.
Statistics. New tires, 1. Miles biked, 35. Fish tacos eaten, 3. Beach towns cycled through, 6. Flats, say it with me now, 0. And as always, we like to close out the show with a special shout out to the Pedalshift Society. Because of support from listeners like you, Pedalshift is a weekly bicycle touring podcast with a global community. Expanding into live shows and covering new tours. If you like what you hear, you can support the show for $5, $2, or even $1 a month. And there's one-shot and annual options if you're not into the small monthly thing. Check it all out at pedalshift.net/society. On to the society. Kimberly Wilson, Caleb Jenkinson, Cameron Lean, Andrew McGregor, Michael Hart, Keith Nagel, Brock Dittus, Thomas Skadow, Marco Lowe, Terrence Manson, Harry Telgadis, Chris Barron, Mark Van Ram, Brad Hipwell, Mr. T, Nathan Poulton, Stephen Dickerson, Vince LaGreco, Cody Florchinger, Tom Beninati, Greg Braithwaite, Sandy Pizzio, Jeff Muster, Seth Pollock, Joseph Quinn, Drew Porter, Byron Patterson, Joachim Robber, Ray Jackson, Jeff Fry, Kenny Mikey, Lisa Hart, John Denkler, Steve Henkel, Miguel Quinones, Alejandro Aviles Reyes, Keith Spangler, Greg Towner, Jody Zeranin, Lucas Barwick, Michael Baker, Brian Bechtal, Reinhard Bigel, Greg Middlemas, Connie Moore, William Gothman, Brian Benton, Joan Churchill, Mike Bender, Rick Weinberg, Billy Crafton, Gary Matushak, Greg Latoile Lopez, James Sloan, Jonathan Dillard, John Funk, Ronald Paroli, Dave Roll, Brian Hafner, Misha LeBlanc, Ari Messenger, David Grotke, Todd Grossbeck, Wally Estrella, Sue Reinert, John Lico, Stephen Granada, Philip Mueller, Robert Lackey, Dominic Carroll, Jackie McCullough, John Hickman, Carl Presso, David Neves, Patty Louise, Terry Fitzgerald, Peter Steinmetz, Timothy Fitzpatrick, Michael Izuski, Hank O'Donnell, David Zanoni, David Weil, Matthew Sponsello, Chad Reno, Spartan Dale, Carolyn Ferguson, Peggy Littlefield, Lauren Allensmith, Eric Burns, Thomas Pearl, Darren McKibben, Richard Stewart, Dave Fletcher, Jack Smith, Luke Parkinson, Ryan Patterson, and new to the society, Sarus Faravar. And thanks also to all past and anonymous folks for helping make this show happen. Thank you for joining. You can find Pedalshift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedalshift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.